Hello and welcome to the Step Teachers Isolation Diaries. This will be episode 1 and we are looking to talk about how to deal with stress during isolation. Quite fitting during the name of the podcast because it's isolation. So my name is Aidan and I am the Marketing Executive at Step Teachers. I'm joined today by Chris, who is the Director of Grad to Teach. So hello. I'm also joined by Andrew Pavlou, who is the Sales Director at Step Teachers.
Good morning.
And James Baker, also known as Jim, who is a Deputy Branch Manager at our Norwich Branch and also deals with his own website of personal coaching at jimbaker.com. Before we go into this, I must reiterate, we are by no means any experts in terms of mental health or how to deal with stress or anything along those lines. So if you are having any issues with mental health or with your stress, please contact the NHS on 111 or use the NHS website where appropriate. Alternatively, if you're working with Step Teachers, you can access the portal, which is called Step Perks. You can do this at stepteachers.co.uk/perks. And this will grant you access to an online GP and a number of different care support helplines. So, boys, how are we keeping active during this present moment of isolation?
Just dropped my legs, actually. I was in a yogi position sitting on my seat then, Aidan, so you missed it, but I was ready for the mental health thing. I've tried to keep my my activity as high as it was at work. So I run every day, which I think that's quite good for my mind in terms of mindfulness. And I still get up, and obviously I don't go to the gym because I'm not allowed, but I've replaced the weights with resistance bands and attempt to do the same thing. And did actually do 45 minutes of yoga this morning. So I'm trying to stay healthy in body and mind.
Have you upped your running distance? Have you gone from 5 to 10 Ks?
No, because I've still got the same amount of lunch break. You're trying to get me in trouble on this podcast. You're up to. I see what your game is, but I have actually started doing a half marathon training schedule. So I do 2 speed runs a week, 1 long run, and which I don't do in my work time, and 2 recovery runs. So. And that is partly because the way I suppose I deal with my mental health is I run because it's good for my mind. So at the start of this, I was actually running far too much. So I was, by the 7th of April, I'd run 70 kilometers and my legs started to hurt. And I probably need somebody else to tell me to slow down because you can have too much of a good thing, I think. So it might have been good for my mind, but my body was about to give up.
You saying about lunch breaks and stuff like that is quite funny because I run as well, and by the time I've done my cool down, my warm up, my cool down afterwards, I come back on to work in the time allotted on our lunch breaks, and we're using Microsoft Teams, and the Norwich team will have a video conference, and I'll be there all sweaty and horrible because I haven't had time to have a shower. So afternoons have been spent in front of my computer quite sweaty on the days I run, but it's good to get out, definitely.
I feel a bit bad now because I haven't run anywhere. I haven't left my house. My weights are replaced by picking up Anna twice a day. That's
baby
my
weights.
exercise. Baby weights. But yeah, she's getting older and a bit bigger. So yeah, mine hasn't been more of a physical kind of thing apart from, I guess, painting walls and realise I've run out of paint for the other side of the room. And I can't really get any other paint until we get out this lockdown. So I'm sitting in a room right now that's painted half, God knows what colour that is, and half cream. But yeah, so I mean, it is challenging. But I think routine, you hit on it. Routine is actually really good. The sleeping cycle, make sure you get enough sleep coming into work, having your breaks, and just keeping that, and being fortunate enough to be at work as well or be working. Gives you more of a break of the day as it is. So I found that quite helpful. But sticking to routine and having a plan is definitely helping me along the way. And picking up a few crafts, which I don't know if I'll mention because I think I'll lose any kudos I do have by mentioning the crafts.
Oh no, we need to know.
I've started. I've started. I've taken my wife's sewing machine and I've started making masks, and
Oh,
I don't know why. Yeah, so she'll find me 8 o'clock in the evening stitching masks for everyone. I've done about 15 so far.
what are you making them out of? You're not making them out of anything that belongs to your
T-shirts.
wife, are they? Because there's okay.
No, just old t-shirts, not her bras, not yet anyway. I might get a bit more creative a little later down the line, but I guess it's all about control. For me, it's a case I like to be in control of many things in my life, but being in somewhat isolation and being in a situation in which you don't have control of this virus makes it hard. So I guess my kind of outlet is I want to do something that's constructive still, but at the same point, actually just not think about things too much either. So yeah, that's what I've done. So there's my kudos gone. I use a sewing machine. I'm sorry, but I'm proud of it.
It's amazing. It's a
Amazing,
good thing
yeah.
to do.
Yeah. I mean, my personal active period has dropped significantly because I used to play football every single time, and it being a contact sport, it's just completely written off. So I've stopped running, I've stopped everything. I think the way I've been trying to keep my brain active is actually by doing other things around the house that never really get done. So I've fixed a tap in the bathroom. I've also fixed another tap in in the front room, even though I rent. So I've been dealing with all of that. I've been also changing all the light fittings, and yeah, just general stuff I'll never be bothered to do at any other time, just at this present moment.
You see, if I did all of that stuff, it would be more broken. I'm very envious of your man skills.
Oh well, my first job was based off of my dad. My dad was an electrician, so that's where I've got it all from him. But if anything happens to my fuse board, I still call my dad. I have no idea how to do anything that far in depth. So that leads me on to probably my second question is, what are you guys all doing after work that's keeping yourself entertained? Because obviously there's no pubs, there's no cinemas, there's no after school activity clubs for your kids. So I can imagine that it must be a bit more of a tough time.
I mean, I've been quite lucky because I only have custody of my kids sort of half the time, so I'm only getting them at the weekend. So I'm not having to amuse them with homework and stuff like that when they get to mine. They're just ready to chill out actually, so it's not too bad. But I don't envy their mum. She's come up with loads of different things. I think there's quite a bit online, isn't there, to do. Some of the activities she's done with the kids sort of seem to centre around making stuff and doing stuff that they're posting to friends and relatives, or that they're videoing and sending to friends and relatives. So they've sort of found a newfound crafting love. I think she's quite good at that. Some amazing things they've come up with, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so I after the lines get blurred, don't they, between work and home life? So I'm not going to pretend that door doesn't open with one of my children coming in and sitting on my lap. Unfortunately, that's never a huge issue unless I'm meeting with the dean of a university or someone really serious. Then they're probably a little less forgiving, and I quite like that they can come and see me when I'm at work, as long as they do understand that they need to go away and they can't spend hours sitting on daddy's lap looking at the strange computer box and the odd things that he does all day. But also it gets blurred the other way. So it's not like I finish work, I go home, I have that break. So I think there's a danger there that I keep looking at emails, that I keep working, that I'm constantly connected to it all the time. And from the homeschooling, my Tara does most of it. She's an English tutor, so they're probably going to go back to school with lots of arty English and drama skills. Yeah, I think she sent a panicked message to the family WhatsApp group, which I'm confident everyone has, just different families, about some help with year 2 maths, which is troubling. So there might be some disparity in the kind of level they're getting in different subjects. And actually, I think in schools as well, approaches of schools have been wildly different to how much support they give. I know schools in the private sector, they pretty much put on your uniform, you sit there from 8:30 to 3:30, and your entire school day is conducted over Skype and Zoom. I'm the governor at a school in Bushey, and I know they've utilised their Google Classroom to kind of supply as much work as possible. And then the school that my own children go to have kind of sent an email saying, we'll send you some work, but bake some cakes, hang out in the sun, create things, have as good a time as possible. And I honestly, and you know, I don't know what's right. Obviously the private school with all that work is going to be pushing for attainment, but the school that my children go to, they kind of have got, they've got one eye on the mental health of my children as well, which I think is a good thing, probably. But I certainly, when schools return, there's going to be a big difference between pupils, not just in their attainment, but I think in terms of their mental health as well, depending on the environment they're in.
I mean, my wife is a teacher, so she's been keeping Anna occupied. Lots of crafts. She's at that age still, at nursery age. So that's been helpful. But I think, unlike you, Chris, I've defined, like, when I switch off from work, I switch off from work. When I finish, I finish. I don't look at my emails. I'm still trying to keep that divide as much as you can between work and your life. I mean, the good thing is, at lunchtime, I go and sit down and have lunch with my daughter, and I absolutely adore that every day. I think also kind of reflecting back on where we are now, you know, I always say, like, we're going to look back at this time to think to ourselves, what did we do? Because we do, and this is myself personally, I miss my family when I'm at work a lot. I love spending time with my daughter. But now I'm in the position where I work from home and I can literally just walk next door, sit down, have some lunch with her, spend some time with her. So at the same point, I don't want to, like, say everything's doom and gloom, because there are some definite perks in working from home.
I love making them porridge and sitting and having breakfast with my children and my family. It is the opportunity, were it not for the odd run at lunchtime, that I could have all 3 meals of the day with my family, and that's a massive plus to the lockdown. I totally agree.
Yeah. And we'll be out of this situation at some point. So this isn't something that's going to be defined forever. This is temporary, that we find ourselves in. I think that's where, I guess, with our own kind of mental states, it's just understanding we are in a temporary situation at the moment. Things will eventually get better. There will be a normal. I don't know how much of a new normal that will be, but we will get beyond this. But I think you also need to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and that gives you hope that actually this is temporary. I mean, this is once in a generation scenario for all of us. But we've got to actually kind of appreciate the fact that we're not being asked to go onto the front line and fight a war. We're being asked to do one simple thing, and that's actually just to stay at home. So it can't be that bad, you know?
No, and I think it's important to highlight all of the good in this. I think schools will be changed forever in the way that they work. Lots more independent learning, and folding in working from home makes sense to pupils, because let's face it, after this is a watershed moment, and the way, how are we going to return to offices where everyone sits next to each other and uses all of that energy and time to do that, or are we going to be living in a world that is more flexible?
Yeah, and also I think you touch on the fact that the way we come out of this, I think we need to show greater appreciation for the key workers, and that's the NHS, but that's also our teachers and support staff and what they're going through at the moment, because schools are still, all right, they're not massively open, but they're open for the key workers. There are teachers and support staff that are going into schools in a scenario like this, and I think we shouldn't forget actually how we appreciate them now. We should definitely have that appreciation for them as we come out of this. And I think that's the watershed moment, in my opinion. It's actually our appreciation for the key workers. And I'm not even talking about just the NHS and schools. I'm talking about people that have been delivering food, have been keeping shops open for food, that supply chain that exists. You know, the people that collect our rubbish, I think actually the appreciation of the job they do now, actually we should appreciate a lot more. Whether that's a monetary value that the government sees, and maybe that's a sense of looking after these key workers beyond that, it's a question for them, but I think it's something that we should be looking to lobby towards and show that to them.
what's been very helpful for my mental health and trying to keep me relaxed at the moment is that I've actually stopped watching the 5 p.m. daily briefing and just relied on
me too.
very small snippets of it for information, because I find that it's all kind of, I want to say it's pre-planned, so the journalists are asking the questions that they already know the answers to. You might have an odd journalist that pushes the boat out and goes a little bit further, and then that question is never really answered. Because of that, it creates this general untrusting towards what the government is doing. And for me, when I was watching it every single day, it was driving me insane, because I was just going, why aren't we in lockdown at this moment of time? Why aren't we doing this? All these other countries are doing this. And it put me into a really weird mindset where I didn't know what to believe. As I've taken a step back from that, I've kind of just gone, right, I'm only going to trust the information that comes to me from the government website. And from that moment on, I've kind of just relied on the 1-2 snippets that I've got from there.
I've done a similar thing, just with the New Zealand government.
Have you?
They got it spot on. They got it spot on.
It's funny you should say that. It's the same, I think, with social media as well. I had a client who was getting really anxious about all the stuff on Facebook and the different conflicting reports and stuff, and the different news and other people. Everyone becomes an expert on Facebook when they've got nothing to do, don't they? They've all got an opinion, which is great. It's what Facebook's for. But my advice to her was turn off Facebook. Just you don't have to have it on. Limit your time on these things. Like Aidan said, you don't have to watch. We went through a period of we stopped watching the 5 o'clock update again because of the journalists, actually, and because they're almost trying to catch the government out. Now, whatever you think of the government, they're doing the best they can in the situation at the moment, aren't they, with the tools that they've got? So, turn off social media for a while. It's a great exercise.
And there's so much fake news out there as well, and you can't rely on that. I mean, if you see a bit of news, see it once a day, but don't dictate your life on it. Trust me, it's not going to change from 1 hour to the next. And if there's a major announcement, you'll know about it. But yeah, stick to the proper sources is what I'd say. Don't stick to a lot of the propaganda that's been going about how you should do this and do that, and that's going to make you feel better and this won't. And it can be overwhelming. And I again, this being in your face all the time, it's not good for your own mental health. Because again, it's all about us humans wanting to have a degree of control. Actually, every time you hear it, you feel like you're out of control again. And that's not good. That's not helpful. Use the time to do something else, you know. Watch a bit of TV. I mean, I find myself, and I'm probably losing kudos throughout this whole meeting, but my niece showed me this thing called TikTok. And I've just been watching these absolutely like brain dead 30-second snippets of useless information. But do you know what? It calms me because I'm not thinking about what's out there. I'm seeing some person doing a silly dance or cooking some food, and actually I think, oh, that mask is good. I'll do that one next time. So yeah.
The next podcast, can we have you doing a TikTok dance then, Pav?
I'm not. Honestly, I said to my wife the other day, I'm turning into, dads that dance. I used to think I was a good dancer, but I definitely have developed a dad dance now. So you will not be seeing me doing any dance moves at all.
It comes as
I've got
standard,
3
Aidan.
daughters, and my middle daughter is TikTok crazy, and I did succumb a couple of weeks ago and had to do a dance with her. But it took about 3 or 4 different dances before we could work out one that my 47-year-old self could actually do. It had to be a simple one to say, too quick for me.
But it's all about trying to kind of, I guess, not pay too much attention to what's happening out there, and listen too much about the news that can be incorrect. Just use the proper sources. That's all I say, and don't overwhelm yourself for it, because it's not going to change from 1 hour to the next.
No.
What I've actually been doing to keep myself relaxed, and it's probably not the most healthiest of lifestyle choices, but I've been keeping in touch with really close friends of mine across the world, because as everyone's in lockdown, everyone's just been sitting indoors playing video games. So that's literally what I've been doing every single time work comes to an end. I can go straight onto my Xbox, put my headset in, and talk to friends that I haven't spoken to in 3-4 years from across the world, and they're playing Warzone, or they're playing Fortnite, or they're playing a game, and I get to actually socialize with them. And I think that's a key point. Just because you're in lockdown and you might be by yourself doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't necessarily talk to anyone. you do have a mobile device, or you have a laptop or a computer, and it's so easy nowadays to stay connected, whether that is through Xbox Live Chat, whether that is through Zoom or House Party or anything along those lines. You should be able to talk to people, and I would encourage you to continue having conversations with people on a daily basis or every couple of days, depending on how you feel. Are you guys catching up with your friends?
Yeah, I think Chris touched on a point a moment ago as well about the positives in this. You think of the amount of our more mature citizens, should you say, the grandparents and all that, that have embraced this video technology and are now, you know, they are able to, you know, call in on newly born babies having baths and stuff like that. You know, long may that continue. I hope we continue to talk to each other after this, that, you know, distance is definitely no barrier anymore, and we can, you know, continue to video call after the lockdown ends.
So to summarize it all, how do you guys think you're honestly coping? Because for me, I do have the odd occasional maybe 2 or 3 days where I go insane, and then afterwards I'm okay again. But it's those 2 and 3 days where I think needs to be addressed in terms of it's okay to feel like that, because I don't think I'm an abnormal person in terms of how I'm feeling during this lockdown. I think it's a standard way to be feeling, and there's also all that support out there to be helped. But how are you guys coping?
Well, I'm fortunate. I've got quite a large family here, so I go and talk to them. I think it's important that you vocalize, and if you're not feeling great, say it. It's no harm in it. I think I'm a proud person. That's naturally the way I've always been, but I've never been too proud to say, actually, do you know what? I'm not feeling that well today. I'm not feeling kind of like happy. But you need other people around you, like yourself, where they can be positive to you and vice versa. So I've always had a bit of a soundboard. I've never sat down and suffered in silence. I'm quite vocal when I'm not feeling 100%. But it's normal not to. There's no perfect in life. I think that's what people need to appreciate. You're not going into a lockdown system and suddenly thinking, oh, I'm feeling this, I shouldn't feel this way. Everyone's feeling a little bit out of control. It's fine. It's okay. But do vocalize it. Don't sit down and not say it. That's the worst thing that you can do. Don't go around pretending that everything's fine and normal, and when people ask you, okay, I'm okay. If people ask me if I'm okay, nah, I'm all right. I'm dealing with it, you know. But again, have that opportunity to speak to people. And if you are isolating at home by yourself, speak to someone. Social media, use it. That's really important.
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky where I am. I'm obviously out in the countryside in Norfolk, so there are plenty of walks and nice views, and the view I've got now is across the field. So I'm lucky like that. But yeah, there's definitely still been arguments from my other half and stuff like that. I think we've got to appreciate that you're putting people together in a house that wouldn't normally be together for that length of time. There's going to be tension, isn't there? There's going to be arguments. And it's just about realising that everyone's going through their own issues and anxieties and being respectful of that, I think. So, but it's perfectly normal to be anxious and to worry about the situation. It's human nature, isn't it?
Yeah. I think I found it hardest at the beginning. So the first couple of weeks, so we've been in lockdown a month. The first couple of weeks, my mind was full of scorpions, and I was stressed about all of the things that were going wrong. So I train teachers. Is there going to be a university in September? Are we going to have a September course? How is this going to affect it? Is this idea even going to work, or is it or without HE, how can we make teachers, and the money side of things, and what that meant for me and my family, and all the negatives. And the last couple of weeks, I've been grateful instead. I suppose it's a trick that works with anything from exercise. Instead of going, oh, I have to exercise, going, I get to exercise, I get to work, I get to spend time with my kids, I get to have every meal every day with them, I get to manage an amazing team. And I don't know if it's that, or it's just that I've got used to it. But the second half of this, there are aspects of my work-life balance, of what I'm doing now, that I prefer, and I wouldn't like to let go of all of that. And I think that there's lots of things I'm fine. I'm probably a little bit more happier than when I was in the office drinking copious amounts of coffee and spending 12 to 13 hours there. I think I think there's lots that I like now, and I don't know if it's that gratitude or if it's just the amount of time I've been in it, but yeah, I'm better.
Good. Okay, so just before we sign off, I just want to reiterate again that we are not experts.
Well, you haven't told us how you're coping.
Oh well.
How are you coping?
Yeah. I'm. You know what? As I said, I go through swings and roundabouts. Really, the first 2 weeks it was great. I never had to commute into work. You know, I got to work from my desk. Everything was fine, and I'm quite fortunate enough that I've got an office and then a bedroom and then a front room. So I've still confined my mentality that when I'm in here, I'm working. When I'm out in the front room or I'm having dinner, I'm no longer working. So this is just basically the new office for me. But after those 2 weeks, I did start falling into the cycle of, oh yeah, let me check my emails. Let me just check this. And even there was the bank holiday Easter that we had, and I was still checking my emails on Friday because I forgot it was a bank holiday. So I woke up early and everything because I completely lost track of days, which is another thing.
No one knows what day it is.
I'm currently coping with. And also I'm growing out my facial hair, which is also helping me cope because I'm in a competition with Sam, who is another employee at Step Teachers, and we've been going to and from seeing who can grow the biggest moustache in this time before we go back.
So how long have you been growing your moustache for?
This has been a month, so bear in mind, both of us can't grow facial hair, so this is my best attempt after a month.
Is that everything? Is that everything?
That's everything, yeah, that's everything.
He's in competition with Sam.
Oh, no.
Wow.
I did have some
This is
here.
the slowest competition ever.
I don't get any hair here whatsoever, but I do get it all here. I shaved this just to keep cash going.
Okay.
That's what
we should post weekly updates of your beard growth and Sam, and then people can take bets on who's going to have the fullest beard by the end of lockdown.
Well,
that's our next survey.
Be like a snail race. I mean, we've all given lots of ideas from nowhere. I mean, I have no kind of training or expertise in mental health, but I think if people, and we've said, talk to each other and look after each other, I think Jim actually has put together some really useful stuff with the raincoat for the mind. So if anyone wants somebody who actually knows what they're talking about, you should look into that. I don't know, we haven't talked about much about that.
You can go to the website, jimbakercoaching.com, or if you go to my Instagram account, there's all my links there for different videos and bits and bobs that I've been doing. But for me, it's kind of a perfect moment, really, because before we try, I do sort of transformational coaching, a little bit different than traditional coaching, which tries to fix outside problems. We fix you from the inside out and try and remind people that their experience of the outside world comes from their thinking. And to do that, you have to slow people's thinking down. Now, I think, like you said, Chris, at the start, the first couple of weeks, everyone's thinking was like, you know, like really 100 miles an hour. What are we going to do here? How's this going to work? What am I going to do? And as it's gone on, people have settled into their new roles almost and their new position in society and in the household. And for me, that's great because it slows people's minds down. So they're more open to my approach or our approach to coaching. So for me, it's really nice that the world has slowed down, because that's what we try and get people to do. And don't get me wrong, I get angry with the kids at the weekend. I have an argument with my other half. But it passes very, very quickly with like I say, the raincoat of the mind, I suppose, is my tagline, because there isn't a perfect world. We are going to, you do have troubles and anxieties and problems. Pav's got his mask on. And it's just about knowing that those things will pass, and probably my advice to people is that no one communicates when they're in, when they've got a bad feeling, when they're in a low mood. No one communicates well. So if you do find yourself in a bit of a low mood, then don't try and communicate or sort an argument out of anyone. Wait until you're feeling better, take some time out. When you're feeling a bit happier, then's the time to communicate with the people that you may be having arguments with, because you'll come from a lot better place like that. It's and to demonstrate that, I suppose, people communicate better, or people will be more responsive with the feeling you portray and not your words. It's a bit like when you're talking to a dog. If you were to you know, you've got a dog and you were to go, oh, you're a really horrible, smelly dog, but but you've got that nice feeling. The dog will wag its tail. It doesn't care about the words. It cares about the feeling. So, yeah, treat your friends and relatives like dogs. That you can say whatever you want to them, but as long as you come from a good feeling, they'll be more receptive.
I guess with that, what you're trying to say as well is like, if you're in that position where you shouldn't really go and start an argument, if you're not in that good place at this moment in time, just wait, because being in isolation is going to make things a lot more difficult, because you can't really kind of go out and get something from a shop. Go to the shops. No, you're not allowed to.
Take 5 minutes, do a few laps around the garden, go to a different room, calm down a bit. No one ever makes a good decision when they're angry, you know, when they're full of emotion like that. It's very easy as well during these times to create movies in your head of what's going to happen. Human beings are really, really rubbish at predicting the future. Okay, really rubbish. And I was in a Facebook group the other day, and I came across a word. It's a German word. I think it's Kopfkino, which forgive me if you're German, I've got this wrong. It's head cinema, the cinema in your head. And we tend to let our thinking control us, don't we? We come up with a situation, and then our thinking takes over. The movie comes in with a director. We add a different genre, some horror. We add a bit of scary. We might have a villain in that piece. It might be a relative we're having an argument with, one of our children that's not doing their school work. Obviously, we need to, you know, the director says, oh no, they need to be a bit more of a villain. They need to be worse. And you create this massive movie in your head. It's about stepping back and thinking, actually, it's just a movie. It's just sport. It's not real. It feels real in the moment. You know, all human beings innocently play that movie in their head, and they forget that it is just a movie. It's just their thoughts on the situation. So it's about stepping back from that. So I thought that was a good word. Yeah, Kopfkino, head cinema.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we happy to sign off now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so before we sign off,
I can take the shirt off and you can put your hat back on, Aidan.
So look,
I was going to do a Joe Exotic joke, but he didn't wear his hat, so I can't do it.
Oh. I'm not allowed to. Okay, let me just sign off quickly. So before we sign off, I must reiterate that by no means we're experts again. If you are seeking expert help, please go to the NHS or use the NHS website. Alternatively, if you're working with step teachers, you can access the online portal at stepteachers.co.uk/perks. There you'll be able to access an online GP and a number of care support helplines. Thank you for the boys being here. And next week, we have a special guest from the Reflex Theatre. His name is Callum, and he'll be doing a talk on social integration with me. So check back next week.